Hi y'all, I'm Carol and I'm so happy you've joined me today. I have a couple of things to share with you. I don't know about you, but sometimes trying to come up with a masculine card is a bit of a struggle for me. But I have a winner of a design to share with you. And I'm going to show you how to modify the sizes that you can cut with your die if the die is not quite right. Yay! Don't worry about writing everything down. I'll put the info in the description box down below. So, let's see what we're going to be using today. I see crumb cake and mossy meadow. Those are always lovely choices. And we've got some Stampin' Up! Watercolor pencils. Yes, and a blender pen. Ooh, the possibilities. What stamp set? A good man. There we go. We're going to be using the guy in the chair. It's your day and relax your way. I just love these pictures. They are all just so sweet. Yes. Okay. See a bit of burlap ribbon here. Burlap ribbon, it's 3 to 3.5 inches. Yes, indeedy. And okay, we've got regular Whisper White cardstock, cut at 5.5 by 8.5. There's a small panel of Whisper White cardstock, 3.5 by 3.5, but it doesn't have to be exact. You'll see why. And then another scrap of Whisper White. Doesn't have to be this big, just need a scrap of it. Okay. Oh, and for color, terracotta tile. Isn't this beautiful? This is one of our brand new in colors. It's number 150884. I know you're going to want some of this. This panel is cut at 5.25 by 4. Looks like a richer calypso coral to me. I just love it. And I also love our new designer series papers this year. Every year they're just gorgeous, but this year, there's some knockouts, and we're going to be using this one. It is Magnolia Lane designer series paper. Look at these papers. Oh my gosh. And the die that comes with the bundle fits around this Magnolia here, so you can cut him right out. Now, I know you're saying to yourself, I thought we were doing a masculine card. All these flowers, we are doing a masculine card. Let's look at the back. Lots of nice neutrals here to use. Ooh, and look at this green stripe with the distressed white stripe down it. This is the one we're going to be using today. Don't worry about cutting it up and thinking you're wasting it with the plain. No, it's beautiful, and you can always buy more paper if you need, right? Okay, let's see what we have with it. Here is our Magnolia Lane designer series paper, and it is cut at 3 3/4 by 5. See, it's pretty on the other side too, but this will be perfect for our project today. Okay. We've got a couple dies that we're going to be using. Yes, indeed. We're going to be using these stitched rectangles. Aren't they awesome? We're going to be using dies number 3 and 4. Okay. So let me put these away so I don't drop them everywhere. And we're also going to be using from the Stitched Shapes die set. We've got ovals and circles, but we're going to be using the squares. We're going to be using the smaller two. Put these away. Alrighty. So when you put all that together, what do you end up with? Isn't that cute? I love it. I love it. That burlap ribbon just adds a little bit of panache to it as he's relaxing in his chair. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, the first step is we need to use the die. Let me get my Big Shot up here. Gonna miss the Big Shot. I can't wait to see what Stampin' Up! Has in store for us as the replacement. Should be extremely interesting. Why am I grabbing that? Here we go. Okay, first thing we're gonna do. Now, if you look on this card, you'll see I've got a opening cut in the green and then an opening where you can see the terracotta tile underneath, and then there's an opening in the terracotta tile where you see the stamped image through. Now, to make sure that these line up correctly, we're going to cut the designer series paper and the terracotta tile cardstock at the same time. Now, here are the two die. Now, this is the smaller die. This is the one we're going to begin with. Look how big it is. It really takes up too much of the card, because then if you put the top one on there, it is as long, it is almost as long as the DSP to begin with. So that's not going to work. Let me pull this shut. A little bit of glare there. I thought the brightness would be good, but maybe too bright. Is that better? Yeah, I think that might be better. Okay, so obviously we can't use this die the way we want it, the way it's cut, but it's the right width. It's just too long. That's not a problem. Okay, what we're going to do is, since we have to cut them together to make sure that the openings line up, we're going to line our DSP up together with our cardstock, so it's the way you want it. Now, you might want to use just a touch of washi tape to keep them together, to keep them from moving. Okay? All right. I want the opening from about here to about here. So how do I keep it from cutting all the way through? I'm going to pull this over the edge of the stamp plate, the cutting plate. Do you see how it's over the edge? The cutting plate ends here and the paper continues on past it. If it doesn't have any what's the word? If it doesn't have the cutting plate beneath it, there's no pressure, it's not going to cut. So I just use a little bit of washi tape there to make sure it doesn't wiggle on me. And I'm going to put my top cutting plate down. And there we go. Now let's take a look. Okay, it's cut through only halfway. It only cut through as far as the edge of the cutting plate. So now we're going to turn it around. We're going to line it back up. Now this is a stitched shape. I don't know if you can see. It's got little literal stitch marks along here. See how it's got the little bubble, little stitch lines there? So the stitches will actually grab it. So it's not that big of a deal it's not that difficult to try to line up. Okay? So we're going to line this back up. Right like that. I'm going to put this washi back on there to make sure it doesn't move and wiggle around on me. And again, hang it off the end of your cutting plate. Okay, see, it's not on the cutting plate here. So, get my top plate on. Run it through. Sometimes that bang is satisfying, sometimes it's kind of makes you worried a little bit. There we go. Now, look at the size of the opening cut from this die. Let's put maybe something in there. Now you see the size of the opening versus the die. Isn't that perfect? Okay, well we shall see if it's perfect. I'm hoping it's perfect. We'll see. One thing we do want to do, we do want to keep this terracotta piece. We're going to use that. Okay? Now we will take the larger die. Here's the larger die. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to modify the size of the opening that it cuts, but we're only using just the DSP paper. We are not layering it this time. Okay? So let's put that down where I want it. Use a little bit of tape. You can use a post-it note. You don't have to use anything if you don't want. We're going to hang it off the edge. See, I can stick my finger here. Whoops, as I pop my die loose. Not good, Carol, not good. There we go. Hang it off the edge. Put the top plate down. And I think that's a little on the crooked side. There we go. Let me pull it down just a hair. Don't need it quite that far up. There we go. Okay, it's partially cut through now. Now let's go ahead and finish it off. It's grabbing the edge. Okay. Line it where you want it on the bottom. Hang over the edge of your cutting plate so you don't have a boo-boo. And run it through. One thing that I heard, this is totally off subject, but I heard that if there's any kind of give to your plate, if you turn it over, it helps preserve the life of your plates. So, especially now that we can't get replacement plates quite so easily, that might be a good tip to keep in mind. But okay, let's take a look. Ta-da! So I've cut this larger opening using this longer rectangle die. See the difference? I love it. You know, sometimes you have a banner die that you want to use and it's just too long. Hang it off the edge of your cutting plate. Not a big deal. Not difficult. Now let's see how it looks layered up together. Look. I love it. I love it. That's good. Actually, I could actually have come down a little bit further on that, but that's okay. We'll give him some good ground to stand on. Okay. Not done cutting yet. Let's take back this little terracotta piece, scrap that was cut out from this panel. We're going to get the larger square die. There we go. Just Place that on there like that. Run it through. Perfect, perfect. Set that down. Okay. Now, we do have one more thing to cut, so let me do my first stamping before we do any cutting, before we get to everything else. With the Mossy Meadow, I'm going to take the For You, the It's Your Day stamp, and we're going to stamp this little scrap. Now, this set is the new cling back stamp. Let me show you. With the cling stamps, you can't just pick them up like that. See, you can't just take it off. These really stick nicely. You have to kind of put your fingernail underneath the edge and lift it off. It's great. Okay, so let's go ahead and tap 3 times. Go ahead and stamp it off. Make sure that your stamp is completely stamped up. Make sure that there's no ink around the edges. Just tap, tap, tap. Don't press. And then just put it down straight. Don't wiggle. And there you have your perfect It's Your Day. Doesn't matter if it's crooked or not, you're cutting it out, right? So we'll get our square die, put it over that. There we go. Let me shut this before I get it all over my hand. Top plate. Run it through. Perfect, perfect. It's your day. And I know you know what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and layer those two up together. Might go ahead and do that right now. Any kind of adhesive you want. For this, I'll just put a little dab of combo. And in the middle. Sometimes I think it's a signature of my pieces that everything's crooked. I blame it on my astigmatism. Okay, let's put this aside. Let it keep safe. Let's get the big shot out of the way. There we go. Now, time for the good stuff. We can go ahead and attach this. No, we're not going to do that yet. I don't want to do that yet. I want to get to the stamp set, get to the guy. Here we go. He is already on the block, ready to go. He's going to go with crumb cake. Now, we're going to take our larger scrap. Okay, this is so hard to see. There we go. We're going to take our larger scrap to stamp him. But we're going to take our terracotta piece. We're going to put it over it. Now we need to make sure that we're stamping in the middle of that square. Okay? We need to make sure we're getting in the middle of that opening. You know what? I think I need that opening a little bit bigger. I really do. Let me get back up here. Let's get back up here. There we go. This is the direction we need to go. Here's the die. Okay. I'm going to come down. Whoops. Probably need to do it this way. Let's see what we're doing here. Okay, I need to be right about there. Yep. I'm just going to move it just a hair. I'm so scientific, aren't I? Just a hair. I suppose I should maybe measure it, but that's okay. A little bit more. Just a little bit more. See, it doesn't matter about having, I don't have to cut back through the green because remember I cut a larger opening. I think that, there we go. That's where I need it. Let me make sure to hang it over the edge so I don't have a terrible little oopsie here. Only need the little tip right there. Now let's see how this turned out. Much better. Much better. Okay, so what I'm going to do, you see how scientific I am, right? I have a pencil here. And while you usually can stamp through an opening, sometimes your stamp is still a little bit bigger and it's going to be hidden behind this top cardstock. So what I like to do is layer it up, and I'm just going to lift the edge here, and I'm going to make a little dot. I'm going to lift the edge, make a little dot, lift the edge, make a little dot, lift the edge, make a little dot. Now, with the layer down, you can't see any of the dots, and so there's no worry about if it erases nicely or whatever. But when you take it off, you see your, can you see that? The points of reference. I just know that I have to keep my image in between these little dots. Okay, so here we go. Just tap it a few times. Tap it off to make sure you got it completely inked up. Tap it, take a look, make sure there's no ink around the edges. That'll mess up your card. And then right in between the dots. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Yes. Got ink on my fingers. That's okay. So there, you see he's in between the dots, so I know he's going to fit behind the window, and the cardstock is not going to be peeking out around the edge of the panel. So I'm going to color him in real quick while before he's mounted. I've got the watercolor pencils. I'm going to give him a gray hat, some gray shorts. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of gray here for the shadow under his chair. Yeah. Shall we take the green and a little bit of greenish color to it? I'm going to give him a green chair. Now notice I'm not coloring it perfectly. Sorry, kind of had to fix something there. But anyways, you notice I'm not being very, very extremely careful about coloring in perfectly, because I'm going to blend it all together using the blender pen. Using the blender pen to cut down on some of the moisture. This is not watercolor paper or glossy. I've got some Calypso Coral here, that I'm gonna use for his shirt. Okay, let's do this real fast. I'll get the blender pen. Okay, now with the blender pen, look, can you see where the stroke marks are literally blending together? Isn't that awesome? Haven't done the sleeve yet. There we go. Yep. It's kind of hard to do this up in the air, so let me put it down. Now, when you change, let me spread it out just a little bit. Now, when you, I don't mean to get you dizzy. Okay, now when you change your colors, of course you want to kind of scribble it off to make sure you don't transfer any color. Now let's do his hat. Get that all blended in. And when you're blending like this, of course you're going to have some areas that are a little darker, some a little lighter. It's good shading, okay? Now I'm not wiping it off because there is gray on here already, and we're just doing the shadow, which has the gray. Okay, now I'm going to, oh, a lot of the green showed up. Looks like it turned green. Let's go ahead and smooth the chair coloring out. Yes. There we go. He's sitting in a nice green chair. Perfect. Okay. Get these put aside. Put the lid on. Okay. Now, look how nice that Calypso coral matches the terracotta tile. I love it. I love it. Okay, I hope it looks nice there. So let's go ahead and attach these. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue around this right here. Okay. Gonna sit that down on top. Make sure he's peeking through. Perfect. So see why I said you didn't have to have an exact 3.5 by 3.5 square for this larger white scrap? It's just something to make sure that it'll cover for the entire back of that panel and not hang out. Alright, got that done. Let's go ahead and put the designer series paper on here now. Thin bead. Thin bead. Yes. There we go. Layer it where you want it. Get it even. See, this is why I like the wet glue. You have just a minute of wiggle room. Just enough time in case it gets on there kind of crooked. Isn't that lovely? Alright, now, burlap ribbon. I think I'm going to use a little mini dot to glue get the ribbon down in a, whoops, got it on my finger. Just use a little mini dot, fold it over. Yep, that worked well. I'm going to put some there and there so it'll stick down to the card also. There. And there. I like these mini glue dots. Okay, let's go ahead and put it right about there. Okay. Now, dimensionals. What did I do with my little, it's your day. It's right there. Okay, I'm going to put some, put some dimensionals on the back. There we go. Love these dimensionals. I bet you get these little hexagonal things. I find them all over my house. right there. And I'm going to put it up just a little bit. I'm not going to make it flush with him. Let me come out. There we go. So cute. I love it. Okay, I'm ready to stamp the inside. I typically stamp my inside before I attach my front panel because you never know. I have been known to drop my stamp and make a mess, and I don't want to have a problem putting that on something else. So inside, let me find my Mossy Meadow. Let me ink up my Relax Your Way. Remember, tap just 3 times, just a couple little taps. Stamp it off. Yes, it's completely inked up. Re-ink it, just tap it a couple little times. Make sure there's no ink all around the edge that'll make a mess on your card, which I just had a little bit right there. Okay, let's sit it down. Make sure your cardstock is straight, and then you can look at your graph line. Go straight down, no wiggling. Pick it up, and you have your perfect imprint. Relax Your Way. Okay, now I'm ready to attach my front panel. Doing white cardstock on a white background is hard for me to see, so I'm going to get a little contrasting color here. I folded it so that I can see my fold line easier. It shows up for me. And I'm going to put some a little bit of glue on the back. Whoops. Make sure you're not going upside down. There we go. That's a shame when you put your card together and it looks so good and then you realize, it's upside down. There we go. Perfect. Isn't that lovely? There you have it. I love it. I love it. And it's easy and it's quick. When you're not describing every step, you can get it done very quickly. So I hope you like my card. And remember, if your rectangle or your banner or whatever is the right width but the wrong length, it's not a big deal. Hang it off the end of your cutting plate and you can modify the size of your opening. It's a perfect thing to do. So, if this was a help, or if you need like half a circle or something, So anyways, if this was a help, or at least not a total waste of time, give me a like down below. And if you really want to be a trendsetter, you can even subscribe to my brand new channel. Finally, if you don't have a demonstrator and need one, I would love to help you with your stamping needs. You can visit me at creatingwithcarol.stampinup.net or follow me on Facebook, Made with Love. Thank you so much. Let's make the world a beautiful place.